Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Jack Jennings and I'm just going to give you a bit of an introduction because the lesson you're about to see suddenly jumps in the deep end. It suddenly starts going on a bit of a journey talking about the CAGED system and the 3-note per string system and comparing them to each other. So this isn't a lesson to show you step by step everything that you need to know and practice. It's more of an overview and just sharing some thoughts about why people prefer the CAGED system or why they prefer the 3-note per string system, or how you can use each system to actually benefit your playing and become a more rounded player. So the purpose of me doing this video is that I'm actually giving the background for the Play Lead Guitar program. This is a universal program to just teach people how to be a lead guitar player. And the main system I use is the CAGED system, but I also use 3-note per string system for particular things that it really needs that for. So I'm just giving a whole overview of the general understanding and approach that you need to then go on and do this program that I've developed. But just enjoy this breakdown of the different systems, and I think that you guys should find this useful and interesting. If you do want to do the program, then there's a special offer for the first 50 members to sign up. So read about that in the description, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. There's sometimes a bit of contention between whether you should look at the guitar in terms of the 5 caged positions, or whether you should look at the guitar in terms of 3-note per string patterns. So the CAGED system is the idea actually that it connects to these chord shapes. So there's 5 different ways of playing a major chord. So if you start with a C, you can have a C open shape, so just the open position of C, and then you'll get an A shape, and there's a G shape, E shape, D shape, and then the C shape will come around again. So it's a C, A, G, E, D. Now these are all C chords, but they're named after the shape that they are based on if you look at it as an open chord. So for example, when I go to an A, if you look at just these notes, if you get rid of the bar and imagine that if those were open strings, if I just take it back to an open shape, then that would give me an A major. So it's like we're taking that A major chord, but then you can turn that into a movable shape. So this happens for all 5 shapes. So if you think about the song Hey Joe, like C, G, D, A, and E, there's a good reason why guitar players would learn that as a beginner, because it's got all of the 5 open chord shapes. And those are the 5 shapes that turn into movable shapes. And any other chord, whether it's a major chord, minor chord, or it could be a 7th chord, 9th chord, any other type of chord can be related to one of those 5 shapes as they get turned into movable shapes. Now I will do some more in-depth lessons on that, but I won't take all of your time with that right now, because we're actually going to just focus on the scale shapes. But the foundation of this CAGED system comes out of those chord shapes, and the idea is that then you can connect a pentatonic scale or a major scale to each of those chords. So the strength of the CAGED system is that it combines theory and melody. It combines chord shapes and scale shapes together into one strong system. And it's quite easy to assimilate that with those 5 different shapes. It takes a bit of time to get used to it. So in terms of the CAGED scale shape, these are the standard shapes that you would have learned in other guitar books, for example. So for example, if you've got an A shape here, then you'd play a scale that's based around that chord shape. And if you had an E shape like this, you play the major scale based around the notes of that chord. So it takes that position of the guitar neck, the chord and the scale in the same position. So that would be an E shape chord, and this would be considered an E shape scale pattern. So the scale and the chord are kind of unified like that. With the 3-note per string, that's more of just a pure scale approach. It doesn't really relate to the chord. No, it doesn't relate to the chord shapes at all. Actually, really, does it? Because what the 3-note per string system is that it has. You start on your root note, for example, C again, and you go 1, 2, 3 on that string, and then next string 1, 2, 3, next string 1, 2, 3, next string 1, 2, 3, and then top string. So what that does is that it tends to move your hand in more of a diagonal motion. Because this is the 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So it's going up the scale, and it doesn't really think about, or rather you don't think about anything else apart from just the scale progression and just following the notes on each string and just doing 3 on each string. So it doesn't matter where you start. You could start you could start it from the C here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You could start it anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there ends up being 7 of those, and a lot of guitar players prefer that because it actually can be a lot faster to play through those shapes, because you've got a certain consistency with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And with legato, where people do this kind of like that kind of thing where you're just following the kind of natural span of the hand. So there's a lot of advantages in terms of the speed and different patterns that you can generate moving through a 3-note per string sequence. But I don't think that they give you the same kind of versatile view of the neck. I mean, it doesn't connect to the chord shapes, but also when you play a 3-note per string pattern, it sort of sends you, I think, in more of a certain direction. So it almost seems to dictate more the kind of things that you're going to play, or at least that's how I've found it, and they're often used a bit more in that way, as just the fastest, most simple way to just go straight through the scale, just so you're kind of just trying to race through that scale. That's often how they're used. Whereas with the caged shapes, they show you all of the notes that you have within a certain range of the hand. So you're more thinking about just being in a position of the neck. And just thinking about the notes that you have in that spot. So I find that gives you a more versatile view of just looking at the different notes of the scale and then using different kind of movements in your hand. This also relates really strongly more to a blues method of playing, because if you've got the minor pentatonic as a framework, then you're playing things that are comfortable within that sort of range of movements. And so those kind of things, they're more based on just comfortable movements of the hand, where the fingers start to get into their own kind of groove, and it leads you into a bit more of a sort of nuanced way of playing, where it's all about the movements of the hand and the different expressive qualities of that. So I tend to associate that a bit more with when you're playing in a particular box, and then you're just generating movements off of that box, and then you can create different modes there. You can start to add different notes into those positions to create all the different types of scales, but it kind of links you a bit more into that way of playing. So rather than just sort of drifting through these 3-note per string patterns that are a bit more predictable and a bit more they dictate almost what you're going to do, I find that when you're in one of these boxes, you're actually moving around the box, and there's almost like more options in terms of the different ways that you're going to go. But the strength to this also is that if you know all the different boxes and you can link them together, then you're actually going to be encouraging yourself to join up the whole neck in a completely unpredictable way, just depending on the way that you want to explore it. So if you know the first box, and then you can go into the fifth box, and then down into the fourth box, and I'm down into the third box already there. So if you know how to move between the different boxes, then you actually have a ton of different options, because you can be starting in one box and then just flow into another. So you don't have to be stuck in any of the boxes. Sometimes people look at the CAGED system and they feel as if they're stuck in one place. But that's just because they don't know all 5 shapes and they're not used to moving between them. Because when you can move between them, you can just go anywhere, and there's much more versatility, I think, because if you're in one box, you can just think, right, here I am, I'm just going to slide back into the fifth box, into the fourth box, and there's the third box, and then can go up but join the boxes in a different way. So third box sliding into the fourth, sliding into the fifth, there's the first box again, into the second box already, there's the third box, fourth box, back to the third and the second and first and fifth and fourth, and then there's the third. So I'm not even thinking that much about the different boxes, to be honest, because they're all just one thing by now. I've learned them as different boxes, but they just become all linked together. And each box will just give you something a little bit different, a little potential in each box. Each box will have its own little quirks and special little licks that you can only do in that box. So when you join everything together, then you end up with this really nice vocabulary of all different kind of things that you can play. So the way that I would really summarize that is that the 3-note per string system is probably the best for just pure speed and just the fluency of going straight through a scale, straight up and down, or running particular sequences through a scale with 3-note per string can be very effective. But I think for overall neck navigation and building up to something that's more versatile and more kind of universal, I think that the CAGED system actually can give you a bigger sort of palette, a bigger range of possibilities once you've assimilated the whole system. So yeah, 3-note per string maybe prioritizes speed, but the CAGED system I think prioritizes the overall navigation skills. And once you can play fast, then you can play fast. You know, then it's just about having a system that allows you to move freely. And then the CAGED system relates to the harmonic system of chords. So there's a much more all-inclusive musical aspect to that as well that's very useful to the CAGED system. So if that sounds good to you and you want to sign up for this program, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can sign up as part of the Indian Classical Guitar Academy. All of the courses are going to be hosted on the same website, the indianclassicalguitar.com. So people who are already doing the Academy program, the Indian Classical Guitar Academy, will have access to all of this material as well, because it's really going to bolster up what they're doing. So you can get it all in one, and that's $25 per month. Or if you just want the Play Lead Guitar program, if you just want to do that one, there's a special offer for the first 50 members to get it for $15 a month. or otherwise you can join the Indian Classical Guitar Academy and get access to all of the Academy courses, all of the different rags, all the different things that we've done in that style, and this new program, the Play Lead Guitar program. So there's a lot of material there, and those are the two main ways you can do it, all in one or just Play Lead Guitar program on its own. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.